So basically, we'll try to understand DeFi more from technical point of view, not just overview, because today's agenda is that we understand DeFi. The moment we leave this webinar, at least we have a good understanding of DeFi and how it is better than current solutions we have like CeFi or banks. So that is the agenda for today. And so let's start. Okay. So before we start on DeFi, let us understand what is CeFi, centralized finance, and how what are the problems with CeFi. So CeFi is basically like any centralized finance what we have in the market right now, like banks. It could be any bank, your local bank or nationalized bank or any international bank. Then there are security agencies like agencies which deal in financing securities, insurance, fund management companies. These all organizations, these are third-party organizations which fall into CeFi. Now let us understand what are the key characteristics of CeFi. So basically, like what happens in CeFi is that they hold your books of accounts. The entire ledger is with the organization who is holding this complete, funds of the customers. So basically, they hold complete custody of customers' funds and assets. And as a customer, if I have to, I think I don't need to explain CeFi, but everybody knows it. But I'm just giving an overview because these books, accounts, ledgers are maintained by these organizations. So if I have to, check my passbook, I have to check my account balance, I'll have to go to this organization. So basically, these organizations are like, they are acting as a middleman right now, and they are taking a huge chunk of, the transaction cost that we are paying right now. And of course, because these are big organizations, so they have quite bigger regulations, rules around, functioning for these organizations. Basically, every customer has to do a lot of KYC and any process you take about interacting with these organizations is a bit lengthy. Now let us see what are the problems with CeFi. What are the current problems with CeFi, centralized finance. So first of all, the biggest problem is that they have the complete control. So it's not the customer or the user is controlling his account. It's actually the bank who is, bank is holding the custody of the customer account and they are controlling it. So they can freeze the account whenever they want. And they have done a lot of times in the past. So they can block any transactions. Suppose you have a very urgent transaction which you want to send, and and bank sees that they have some justification to block the transaction, they can they can block the transaction without your permission. Cost. If you are sending the money through bank, it's going to be very costly. I'm just giving you an example. Let's take example of PayPal. I'm using this application PayPal like from last couple of years, and suppose I'm sending this money from India to USA. Let's take it reverse way. I'm sending the money from US to India, and suppose I'm sending $100. So for $100, I'll have to pay $5.5 as a fee. So just imagine if I'm sending a bigger amount, let's say $10,000 or $20,000. The fees is going to be multiplied, and this is going to be much higher, and it all depends like the amount I'm sending. So it becomes a bit problem when you have to send bigger amounts through these banking transactions. But if I do the same transaction through any DeFi or any blockchain application, the cost will be significantly low. Privacy. So as a bank or any financial institution, they have complete records of a customer. As a bank, they have my identity, address information. They have my all account information, like how much money I'm holding and how much money I've withdrawn, how much money I've deposited X amount of time. At the same time, if you look at the customer doesn't know where the bank is spending. So bank knows everything about the customer doesn't know where the bank is spending. Again, this unfair. So second, after this, this very important point is their bankruptcy. In 2008, specifically in 2008, during the time of recession, a lot of banks in the USA have been gone, like they have gone bankrupt and people have lost a lot of funds. And let's talk about India. I think we have few banks like Bank of Maharashtra, and where people, they were not able to withdraw their own funds. This has happened in India as well. So because this control is with some organization or some authority, so it's very difficult, in case of difficult situations like this, to get your own money. And most important point is that any banking application you're using, any banking mobile application or web application, if you look at the database, the actual transaction information on that database is with the banks. So there has been a lot of cases where these transactions have been forced, and let's suppose some transaction was sent for some X amount, but this amount was forced by either hacker or the bank itself. So coming to the agenda, what is DeFi? DeFi is a financial technology that employs blockchain and smart contracts to build open, transparent, composable, and non-custodial financial protocols. Now, this is the formal definition of DeFi, but we will understand this definition in simple words, like what these words actually mean. Open. Open means basically everybody has equal access. There is no restrictions to access to any this DeFi system. Whenever you see any central DeFi, I mean any system is DeFi, that's why it's called decentralized finance, because it's completely decentralized. Everybody has equal rights and equal access. So nobody is restricted from having access to any DeFi protocol. Transparent. Transaction data is always available on blockchain. Now let's say, for example, you did some transaction in DeFi project about 1 or 2 years back. You can still go and verify the transaction information in any in the blockchain explorer in which the DeFi project was. Let's suppose I did my transaction of $10,000 about 1 year back, so I can still go and verify even after couple of years. But just imagine the same scenario in case of bank. Yeah, if you lose your passbook, you have to visit the bank branch, and you have to do the KYC if your bank account is not active. So these all challenges are there with the bank. But in case of blockchain, is simply transparent. You just need to know the address. Just search the address in the blockchain explorer. Just find out that whatever transactions you want to find, and you can actually see like how much balance you're holding. Next point is composable. Composable, actually it means you can actually compose transactions through different layers of different I would say different platforms. You can actually do atomic swaps, and you can do a lot of swapping between different coins. So that's why it's interoperable, and you can compose your own transactions. You can even write your own transactions through a raw script. Non-custodial. This is very, very important. That is why DeFi, if you see, it's much better than banks, because you are owning the custody. Basically, your funds is in your wallet, and there is no forget password button. So basically, whatever private key, public keys, you are owning is completely in your control. So you are actually finally the owner of your funds. I mean, nobody can take these funds from you. Now you must be wondering, why this self custody is important. Let's take example of recent situation of crypto market. As we know, it's not good. But at the same time, if you see, there has been a lot of exchanges which have stopped withdrawals or deposits to their particular exchange. I wouldn't name the exchange, but there have been few exchanges which have stopped funds withdrawal or funds deposit. Mostly funds withdrawal they have stopped. But in case you are holding the same cryptocurrency, whether it could be Bitcoin or Ethereum, in your Metaverse wallet, nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop you from using your own funds, because this is in your own self custody. That is where DeFi comes into the picture. So let's quickly talk about the benefits of DeFi. Smart contracts, because if you see, DeFi is completely based on smart contracts. So I mean, earlier, like if you look at any bank, there are hundreds of people who are maintaining the ledger, or who are maintaining the bank. But if you look at any DeFi project, you'll hardly find people like, more than 20 to 25 people working for that, maximum 50 people. So 50 people are sufficient to maintain a DeFi project. So why it is possible? It is possible because of smart contracts, because smart contracts take care of validation part, execution part. So that part is taken care of by smart contracts. Immutability. So this is how the DeFi ecosystem becomes secure, because you cannot modify any data. Whatever data is there in smart contract, in the blockchain, it will be there forever and nobody can modify, not even the owner of the project. Interoperability. Now if you see with the token standards, the moment we got this new token standards like ERC20 or ERC721, ERC1155, this has become very easy to swap tokens from one platform to another platform. So this has become quite interoperable, and this atomic swaps are, even if you just go to MetaMask, just open your MetaMask wallet and just try to swap your currency from one token to another token. It has become very easy now. Just at the click of a button, you can just swap your currency into different currency. But if you look at the other scenario, it's not that easy if you want to convert a currency from one currency to another currency. Just imagine, like, I came to this Singapore yesterday and I was supposed to convert Indian rupees into Singapore dollars. So I was given different options, and I realized these options were quite different. And if you see, someone was offering me 58 rupees for Singapore dollar, and someone was offering me 68 rupees. So I mean, at the same time, I had to find out the right channel. It was very difficult. But in case of blockchain, it's just one MetaMask wallet. You just go to the wallet and just click swap, and it's all done within a click. Transparency, as you know, blockchain, you can actually see all the transactions. It's all transparent. So that's why transparency is there. You can go to any blockchain explorer and see the transaction. Permissionless, basically you don't need any permission to enter any ecosystem, because it's mostly public. Blockchains are always available for entire public. It doesn't matter which country, which state, which religion you are, you can access any DeFi system. So I mean, it doesn't matter which country, even which country you belong. So it's equal for all. So that is the benefit of permissionless. It's also called trustless sometimes. Self-custody. So I've spoken a lot about self-custody. So let's move to the next point. Pseudonymous. So what is pseudonymous now? We know what is anonymous. So pseudonymous is basically like, it's not completely anonymous. It's anonymous to some extent. Let's say example, you have your own address in blockchain. So people won't know that, this address belongs to Mr. Vivek or somebody else, Mr. X. But people can actually track your transactions. Suppose I posted my address somewhere in public, like let's suppose I post my address on LinkedIn, that, hey, this is my address. People can actually go and track, Vivek, how much funds Vivek has spent and how much funds Vivek owns. Vivek owns how much fund and how many transactions Vivek has done. So that's why it's called pseudonymous. It's not anonymous, it's pseudonymous, because it all depends like how I'm exposing my address. Well, now since we have spoken at length about about what is DeFi, or what are the disadvantages of CeFi, or what are the advantage of DeFi. Now let's talk about, let's go a bit technical and let's understand what are different layers of DeFi. So we'll start with the bottom layer first, which is the settlement layer, which is at a deep bottom layer, where the actual transaction settlement is happening. So that's why it's called settlement layer. And here basically I've taken an example of Ethereum blockchain, but not it can be any other blockchain. It can be Polygon, it can be Solana blockchain. So I'm just taking an example of Ethereum blockchain. So why do we call it settlement? Because whatever transactions you're writing is going to be settled at this level. And transactions are going to actually happen at this level only, blockchain layer. Then there is something called asset layer. Asset layer is basically where these assets are defined. The categorization of assets happen at the asset layer. So we can say, like, this is a ERC 720 token, or yes, this is ERC 20 token, 721 token, or this is ERC 20 token. So this is where the asset category has been defined. And this is actually, in other words, it's a smart contract layer. Then we have something called protocol layer. Protocol layer is basically like, where we are dealing with some protocol. It could be like Aave. Let's suppose, you are dealing with Aave, you're taking some loan from Aave. So that is a protocol which I'm interacting with. So that is the protocol layer. And it could be like different platforms like, lending, borrowing, derivatives, exchange. Suppose, I do my swap from one token to other token on Uniswap. So that is a protocol layer. Now let's talk about application layer and aggregation layer. So basically application layer is not much interest. I mean, it's not interesting in terms of blockchain, but it's basically like your application is like, backend, front end, whatever applications you are hosting, from the point of blockchain. So that is your application layer. And aggregator is basically, suppose, you have multiple applications. Within exchange, you would have, multiple applications. One is dealing with database, one is interacting with the users. So that is where this aggregation layer comes in. So basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers are there, but settlement layer is the first bottommost layer. That is also, in other words, a blockchain layer. Asset layer is basically your smart contract layer, where basically we define this category of token or what kind of assets you're holding. Protocol layer is basically your it would be any platform through which you're interacting. And application layer is basically your the front end or back end application of your project. Now let's move to the next part. Now let us see, what are the components of DeFi, how this DeFi, I mean, we have spoken about DeFi, technical side of DeFi, like, what are different layers of DeFi. We will see what are the key components. I mean, if you see like Oracle is basically a service through which we interact. I mean, through these smart contracts, get the value of any external entity. They get this value from the Oracle. Then there is something called Metaverse wallet, which is very, very important because most of the Web3 projects, if you are interacting, you'll have to interact either through Metaverse wallet or equivalent wallet, Web3 wallet. Then basically we have this different classes of assets. They are also called, pegged asset, because they are pegged against some cryptocurrency or some actual fiat currency. So here basically we have given an example of USDT, USDC. Then we have this algorithmic stable coin, leveraged coin, automated market maker. Okay, this is a big innovation in DeFi. Earlier, what used to happen, like, in C5 project, they used to manually, people used to do this market making activity. Like this was completely manual, people, traders used to come in and they used to make markets for centralized finance. But with DeFi, this has changed completely. Suppose, you have a liquidity pool in Uniswap, you can actually create I mean, as a user, I mean, doesn't matter, what my relation is with Uniswap, any user from any country can create a pool. I can become market maker if I want. So I can just create a pool and I can start adding liquidity of Ethereum token or whatever, Ethereum coin or any other coin I want. So this is a biggest innovation, because with liquidity mining, I'm also earning reward as a market maker. I mean, I can start my own business as a market maker. I can start, liquidity pools, and I can also start earning the fees that people are paying. Apart from that, lending, borrowing. So lending borrowing is another innovation DeFi, because lending borrowing protocols, if you see, I mean, if you compare the same thing to banks, if you want a loan, basically you have to, spend a lot of, you have to go through a lot of documentation, and ideally this process takes around 30 to 45 days usually, in case of home loan, but ideally, like for car loan also, it will take 5 to 7 days. So that is the fastest loan you can get. Otherwise, for personal loan, it will take at least 2 to 3 days. But if you look at this lending borrowing protocols, this is very fast. You can actually, just go to that protocol, just deposit your money, crypto money actually. You can deposit whatever assets you have, and you can, after, putting your assets, you can borrow some money based on your whatever assets collateral you have put in the particular protocol. So lending borrowing has become quite easy after, protocols, these platforms like Aave. I mean, there are multiple platforms like this. Then, okay, we will see some more use cases apart from, this decentralized exchange. Or we have seen, like, Uniswap away. So next is basically asset tokenization. Asset tokenization is like, you can suppose you have a property, you have a small shopping mall, in somewhere in Mumbai, and you want to tokenize your complete shopping mall, and you want to sell, all these shops. If you want to sell or rent through tokens, you can do it actually. And this has been actually happening. And there is a project called City DAO. In City DAO, you can actually, put your actual real estate on, you can put it for sale, or you can put it for rent. So thresholds are coming up, and where you can actually sell and tokenize your real assets. And another example of asset tokenization is that you can actually tokenize an individual. There is a very good programmer, he has tokenized himself. So whatever earnings he is earning, let's suppose, I'm a programmer and I'm earning $100,000. So people who have tokenized my assets, people who have tokenized myself, they would get some revenue. So like he has tokenized himself actually. So next implementation is like decentralized exchange. Decentralized exchanges are quite, very simple use cases that you want to convert one currency into another currency. Lending borrowing platforms. Okay, we'll talk about flash loan. Flash loan is basically like, when you don't want to put any collateral. Suppose you want to take a loan of very big amount. Let's suppose, $1 million or $10 million. Such kind of loans are very difficult. If you go to any banking application, if you approach any bank, if you say, I want a loan of $10 million, they will reject the application. They will probably ask you for your background check, and this is very difficult to get, a loan of $10 million, $20 million. But with flash loan, this is very much possible. And if you see most of the attacks or hacks which has happened in the past, they have taken good amount of loan, like 10 million, 20 million, easily through flash loan, and they have returned the money as well. Now, NFT is a very good use case of DeFi. You can actually, tokenize. You can actually sell these NFTs, and any artwork or any piece of work that you have done at a higher price than you sell in generally in local market. Okay, stable coins. So stable coins are basically like, it's a complete, I would say it's a complete way of interacting with the money. Like whatever money you're holding right now, Indian rupees, or it could be dollars. So actually you can have that, similar kind of US dollar equivalent in terms of cryptocurrency as well. So that is what stable coins are. So stable coins are good, innovation in case of DeFi, because earlier what used to happen, like, back in 2017, I remember, or like when we were doing all these transactions in Bitcoin, Ethereum. So every time we used to do transactions, like, we were like worried, like whether value will go up or down, and our transaction will have to face these challenges. But with stable coins, this has become really good and helpful for us, the complete crypto industry at least, so that we can do the transactions without worrying about the volatility of the price. Now we also have something called decentralized insurance, like insurance, which is given on decentralized platforms. Staking. So suppose, if you deposit money in any bank right now, you will get interest of 5 to 6% maximum 6%. But just imagine if you deposit the same amount of money in any staking protocol. Not right now because the market is down, but generally in good market, you would at least get 30% APY, that is annual percentage yield, that is annual interest, or 200% is also possible. Some projects are also offering 100% APY, which means that you can double your money within a year. Again, this is not an investment advice, but this is very much possible with platforms like Hex, and there are many other platforms, which supports this kind of APY. DAO. So DAO is basically like it's called decentralized autonomous organizations, and one very popular DAO which I have been associated with is Brain Trust. So Brain Trust, if you see, I'm just giving one example of DAO. So Brain Trust is a good decentralized organization because we we as a team, everybody, we vote for any protocol changes, and based on that we decide what kind of work would be available in the market and what kind of work wouldn't be available in the market. So basically, it's a brain trust is a freelancing platform where we could see what kind of jobs would be posted, or what could be the pricing of the jobs, or what could be the payment terms and conditions for the jobs. And that is all decided by the community, not by any owner of organization, or not by any founder. So that is the benefit of DAO, because this is giving power back to the people. So people can decide how much how much rights or how much control they want. And this is just one example. A lot of DAOs will be there in the coming years. Next couple of years is going to be year of the DAO and NFTs. Ideal launchpads. If you want to launch any project, like suppose a blockchain project, earlier the funding part was a bit challenging, because you have to do ICO, and for ICO you have to spend heavily on marketing. You have to do very aggressive marketing. But with ideal launchpads, this scenario has been changed right now. You can actually approach these launchpads, and you can raise funds for anything from 100K to 500K. Like there are good platforms, like Avalanche, where you can actually raise like $500,000 to $1 million on ideal launchpads without any aggressive marketing. Okay, since we have spoken, like I've spoken about DeFi, what is DeFi? What is the key difference between DeFi and CeFi? And what are the challenges, with CeFi? And I've also given you a technical overview of what DeFi is. Now I will talk about the security challenges which are with the DeFi right now. Even though the DeFi space, if you see, it has become quite secure, but there are few technical challenges there. Like there are some security challenges, and they are basically different levels. So different levels, we have different security challenges there. So we'll take one level. We'll take all the levels as of now. So first is network attacks. So first is Eclipse attacks. What is Eclipse attack? Basically, suppose you're having a mining node, and around your mining node, a couple of there will be more nodes who will be creating a fake scenario, which will give you a you will start believing that this is the actual network, and that's how the fake Eclipse is formed around the mining node. And you start believing that this is the actual network, and you start dealing with these different nodes, and you start validating their transactions and their blocks instead of actual blockchain. So that is the Eclipse attack. And DOS attack is basically quite it's quite common. Basically, you flood your a lot of transactions. So I'm not going to talk deep about DOS attacks. Then there is 51% attack, consensus level attacks are there. So this was the network attacks. Now I will talk about the consensus level attacks. So 51% attack is like suppose someone gets more than 50% power of mining power of any network, 51% ideally. So they can actually introduce any protocol change. They can start controlling the blockchain. So that is 51% attack. Double spending, selfish mining. So all these kind of attacks are possible at the consensus level. So selfish mining is like someone wants to hold the mining. Suppose I am a Bitcoin miner and I have won the block reward. So I will try to hold this mining for a while. I will try to wait. This is called selfish mining. Why it is called selfish mining? Because I am holding my block for some time. Then if you look at Solidity as a language is evolving. So there are few bugs in Solidity smart contract languages. So that's why when you're writing a smart contract, probably because of these bugs, you might lose a lot of money in a DeFi project. So reentrancy is a kind of attack, where suppose you write some code and you give some open access to the code after that particular function call. So that is reentrancy. And authorization is also like you have some level of authorization attack is there, where people try to, like, they become authority, they try to get their access of the keys. Then DeFi protocol composability attacks. Now, if you look at flash loans, they are a very good example of DeFi, implementation, very good, very helpful for people. At the same time, if you look at flash loan, whatever attacks, whatever hacks has happened, mostly like they were because of flash loans, because people could borrow a lot of amount of money, and they could get the power of this complete blockchain because with that money. So flash loan is a good good advantage. At the same time, it's a disadvantage as well, because people are creating all these attacks with the help of flash loan. Then there is something called oracle attacks. So oracle attack is like you have a, I just said it's a third party service which is an oracle layer. Through that layer, if someone attacks, it's because that is not blockchain, it's just oracle layer. So it is very much possible to attack there. There is something called bridge attack. Bridge is basically, it's a layer between two blockchains. Suppose you have two blockchain, blockchain A, blockchain B, and you want to convert currency from one blockchain to another blockchain. So there is something called bridge, and this bridge is not a pure blockchain. So probability of attacking a bridge is quite high. And there have been a lot of cases, when these bridge attacks have been happened, in DeFi projects. Okay, we'll talk about privacy issues now. So DeFi, as I said, is pseudonymous. It's not anonymous. So suppose somebody knows my address, somebody knows Vivek Singh's address. So he can actually see like what transactions I have done in the past. He actually knows how much funds I'm holding, and so basically he can use all this information to either attack me or take my advantage. And this kind of attacks, if you see, hackers always try to most of the hackers, they try to track addresses which high balances. So that's why this is an advantage to hackers actually, because hackers, they know that there is no privacy in any blockchain, so they can just see any suppose a hacker wants to know like where the actually higher funds are there, so he will target those addresses and he will try to attack those addresses only. So that is how this is benefiting or helping hackers instead of the general public. And I just said it's everything public, like timestamp, transaction, balance, all this is public. If you know the address of somebody, you can actually know like how much money is this guy is holding, or how much money this guy has sent to Mr. X or Mr. Y. So this all information is public, so it can be easily tracked. And of course, there are many DeFi accounts are there, some like hacker accounts are there which are public, which we also as an individual can go and verify. Like we can see like how much funds that person or the organization is holding. Just to give you one example, like Bitcoin, if you see Bitcoin as an organization, they have their own address which they have made publicly available for donation, etc. So whenever you go to that Bitcoin address, you can actually see like how much donations Bitcoin as an organization has received. So I mean, I used to check earlier, but now I don't check. But you can actually see like how much donations as a company's organization is receiving, or any person is receiving. So yeah, that's all about DeFi, what is DeFi and crypto. I mean, technical explanation of DeFi, which I tried to explain. And finally, we covered few shortcomings or security challenges with DeFi, which are quite possible. So that's all from my side, Rekha. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vivek. So going on, I think we have a few questions which have come in. I think there was someone else who was mentioned that he sent a question to you also, Vivek, on your chat.
All right, let me check it. What will these pools offer them? Okay, so I think this message has come when I was talking about Uniswap liquidity pools. So what will these, I mean, if you're doing this liquidity mining, I mean, you are becoming a market maker. So you're providing, let's suppose, just take example of 2 coins. I'm providing liquidity for Ethereum and USDT. And let's suppose I deposit $100 USDT, $100 Ethereum to a mining pool. So whenever, Mr. Y, let's suppose Mr. Y comes and he wants USDT. So he will pick up USDT from the pool and he will pay the fees. So whatever fees he pays, this fees is equally distributed among members, like, all the people who have contributed. Not equally, actually, it depends on like what fraction of money you spent in that pool. So that's why it's called liquidity mining. The more liquidity you provide, the better fees you earn. So basically, you're earning the transaction fees of the person who is using the liquidity.
Got it. Thank you. I hope Vivek K would have got his answer for the question. Thank you, Vivek. The next question is, will DeFi replace banks? What are your views on this?
Actually, this question is like, I think this is the third time I'm asked this question. Like whenever I go to any webinar, like I get this kind of questions, first is this and
Okay.
the other is about tax. So yeah, like, can DeFi replace banks? I don't think it can replace right now, because right now the DeFi is not that advanced, at a mainstream stage that it can actually replace. But I believe, after a few years, like 4 5 years, or down the line, like 6 7 years, this is going to be much better, and probability is very high. I mean, we can't predict, we can't say that this is going to replace or not, but probability is quite high that if this see any platform or any application, if we say it's going to replace this, it all depends on delta score. So what is delta score? Is like, the amount of comfort a consumer feels when he comes switches to a new platform or new approach. So if people feel more comfortable, more secure in a new platform, in a DeFi project, probably that change is going to happen worldwide. And if the delta score is less, if the delta score is below 5, the change might not happen. The change will be like limited. It will be just limited environment. That people who are techies, they will use DeFi. People who are not techies, they will not use DeFi.
Thank you. Next up, we have this question which is coming. Is Bitcoin a decentralized finance?
See, Bitcoin is not a DeFi, decentralized finance. Bitcoin is just a cryptocurrency. So, see, there is a very thin line difference between, I mean, not thin line, it's a big difference actually between DeFi and any cryptocurrency. Whenever you say DeFi, DeFi is actually is a complete system. It's not just currency, or not just, not just lending, borrowing, not just one currency, or not just blockchain development platform. It's a complete system through which you can do some financial activity, apart from just buying and selling. So I would just to give you examples. Aave is a digital, it's a DeFi platform, because it's a complete DeFi, decentralized finance solution, where I can actually buy and not buy and sell. Sorry, I can lend and borrow money.
Right.
So that is why there is a difference between DeFi and a currency. See, Bitcoin is a good blockchain network. It's a good currency, but it's not a DeFi project. And DeFi came after a lot of time of Bitcoin as well. So a lot of people confused with blockchain and Bitcoin, and like blockchain and Bitcoin and DeFi and Bitcoin as well.
Right. Very true. Thank you. Next question that we have. What is the total value locked in DeFi?
So, I mean, this value always keeps on changing. Usually, like, it's in billions. So you can go to CoinMarketCap, or you can go to any other website like DeFi Pulse or DeFi Llama. You can check, what is the recent figure. So this figure always keeps on changing. Like sometimes it will be 20 million, it will be like depends on the market. If the market is down,
Depending on the market.
Billion. So I just don't want to give any accurate figure, but if you want to see the accurate figure, you can go to this DeFi Llama or DeFi Pulse or DeFi. I mean, you can go to this CoinMarketCap, so you can see this figure over there.
Okay, cool. Thank you. How are DeFi applications produced?
Okay, how are DeFi applications produced? So basically, like there are different platforms for creating a DeFi application. The first and foremost important was Ethereum, of course, because Ethereum supports Solidity, and a lot of development communities comfortable with Solidity. But if you look at now, there are many more options right now to create DeFi applications. I have Phantom, I have Binance Smart Chain. Binance Smart Chain is preferred choice, compared to Ethereum now, and I have Polygon. Because in these ecosystems, the better advantage I'm getting is that I'm also getting high speed and low cost. At the same time, also this ecosystem founders are supporting me. Like if I'm building a project in Polygon, probability is very high that Polygon founder or Polygon team would support my project, they invest my project.
Sure.
And just imagine if I'm building the same project in Ethereum, so probability is very less that Ethereum founder Vitalik is going to support my. He will come down and support my project.
Right. True. Thanks. I think that was the last question that we had. So I would like to thank Vishal for taking our time and sharing his views on today's topic. I really appreciate your time you've taken, to kind of give us more insight on understanding DeFi. I would also like to thank all the wonderful audience who've shown interest in learning and making informed decisions before entering the crypto market. I would request all of you all to kindly download the CryptoWire app if not done already to be a part of the global learning. Thank you so much. We would appreciate your valuable feedback on the session. This helps us enhance our sessions better. Thank you, Vivek. It was nice interacting with you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, bye. Have a nice day.